the Mindful Habit System, and you are listening to a broadcast that I call Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions, a audio, video, whatever you're listening to help you create healthy sexuality and live your best life. And I was inspired to make this video just knowing historically that the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, the holidays are often shit shows, Slipfest, not Slipknot, but Slipfest. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. And let me just unpack that. Is it's my experience that to the unprepared, the holidays suck. The holidays suck really bad. They find themselves sinking to new lows. People find themselves basking in indulgence, not feeling good about themselves. People, feel worse, a lot of conflict, a lot of pain. And so what I want to talk about is some very, very specific things that you can do to make the holidays a tiny bit less of a slip fest and a shit show. And by tiny bit, I really mean that with this tiny perspective shift, you can use the holiday season as an important aspect of your training. And I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. And for everybody who's joining me during this live stream, welcome. Hey, Rob, so glad you are here. Let me know in the chat if you find the holidays for you are a difficult time. And so I want to welcome you guys. And after I'm done with this lecture, one of the benefits that I want to give when I'm doing this live stream, guys, is after I'm done with what I want to share with you, I want to answer your questions too. So I got 15 minutes before I got to run. So let me get through what I got to get through. And that way I can answer your questions. Jewel, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? And for those of you who happen to find me somewhere, if you want to join the live stream, you can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Most of the people here, I think, are from YouTube and Twitch, and that way you get a notification when I broadcast live. Unfortunately, I do not have a schedule, and I look for these little pockets of say, okay, and when I'm inspired, I've got something I want to say. So, what do you want to accomplish this holiday season? Okay, I led off with what we want it to be less of a slip fest, less of a shit show. But one of the first tip that I have to accomplish that, make it less of a slip fest and less of a shit show, is to be proactive in defining what do you want to accomplish this holiday season? How do you want to feel at the end of this holiday season? And so, yes, there is a certain goal that you might have about not doing something. Hello, Tim. But break a habit, make a habit, right? What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to feel about yourself? What goals do you want to accomplish? And here's the thing, speaking of goals, and this is why I propose the holiday season is the best time to focus, not just on goals, but a very specific type of goal, not the New Year's resolutions. I mean that what you want to accomplish. Of course, that is important, but here I'm talking about to help you make the holidays less of a shit show and less of a slip fest is to focus on infrastructure goals. And here's what I mean by that. Holidays, your relationship with reward is going to be tested. You are going to have more conflict in your life, more variables, more opportunities for excess. And that excess causes conflict. That conflict causes loss of agency and control. That conflict causes fights with our partners, fights with us feeling bad about ourselves. We feel bad about ourselves. We get the reward. We numb, cope, and escape. We do things that we say we don't want to do. And we start the cycle all over again. And so the type of goals that I want you to focus on is the infrastructure goals. Let me say that word again, infrastructure. Infrastructure is the policies, the procedures. Oh, I love those boring words. The policies, the procedures, P&Ps we used to call them back in my regulatory days. Let's check on the P&Ps. And the thought that I'd be sharing that tip with you professionally is mind-blowing to me. I resisted structure and discipline my whole life. The infrastructure goals are the goals that help you, that change your system. So here's an example of a regular goal. Regular goal is I'm going to meditate a minute a day. That's a normal goal. That's a good goal. I'm going to meditate in the morning because I know I need to implement a morning routine for 120 seconds. After I do that 120 seconds, I'm going to write down 3 things I'm grateful for. That's all before I got out of bed, and it's only taken me 120 seconds. The third thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pay a little extra attention to my mouth. Oral care is mental health. Oral care is physical health. So those are infrastructure goals. Another example, because it's attached to the routine in the morning. You can attach your goals to the routine in the evening. And the reason why the holidays are a great time to work on infrastructure goals, because your infrastructure, your system will be challenged. So the holiday season is a spectacular opportunity to embrace the concept of Kaizen goal setting small, attainable, system-centric goals that have you navigating these variables, these challenges, these risks that the holidays present, so you come into 21 on the upswing, not coming down, but launching. And it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot, because the perspective is I'm going to use the holidays as a test. I'm going to the test is I have to prioritize in some capacity, a teeny tiny, small, micro capacity, my mind, my body, my spirit. I've got to, and I'm going to focus on the system that I'm trying to change. Another example of an aspect of your system is having an accountability partner that you share, not your sexual goals, but the goals that you want to accomplish in your life. And we meet every Friday afternoon at 4:00. That's a system goal. That goal, that accountability that you create with that accountability partner. And listen, how do you do in your job professionally when there is no accountability? Your boss is on vacation. Do you do more work? Do you do less work? How do you think you do in your job if you had no performance objectives? If no one was looking over your shoulder? So many of you professionally have some pretty serious, robust, and the higher up you go, the more structured and disciplined that goal setting becomes, that performance assessment. So that's what I want you to see the holidays as a test and recognize the system is going to be challenged. What are some small, simple things that I can do to strengthen that system? And evening routines, morning routines, connecting with someone for literally 5 minutes a week, dedicating a certain amount of time to doing something that's good for you, meditating for 60 seconds a day, right? And being proactive of the risks that you are trying to manage. Now, I talked about this in my broadcast, I think it was 2 ago. So if you want more detail on managing the risks inherent during the holiday season, please watch that broadcast or listen to it wherever you are. And I just want to touch on an important point now is what risks are you trying to avoid? Right? What are the bad things that happen to you over the holiday season? For me, it gave me a really powerful opportunity to examine my relationship with reward. And the reward is, it's Christmas time. I deserve my present. I'm providing. I'm busting my ass. I'm doing everything for goddamn everybody and not getting an ounce of appreciation, a stitch of significance. Now, That was in my mind. That wasn't my reality. My wife, if I gave her the chance and let her in, was very supportive, was very kind. It was me. I was broken. So there was a deeply entrenched belief system around that reward. So I ask you, and that's true for many of you, we talk about this all the time with clients, is what is your relationship with that reward? Knowing that you're going to get that reward one way or the other because needs get met reactively, mindlessly, the way you were trained to meet them, or they get met proactively. And so that's the mindset that I want you to have going into the holiday season. I am going to get, my body's going to take a reward somewhere. Now, this is true for most of you. Not all. Most of you need to change your relationship with that reward. So I have a very specific reward system that I've got going into this holiday season. I have said no to some bigger presents. I feel very, very blessed. Please, no, make no mistake, I'm no minimalist. But I've wanted to cut down on the budget for me. That's something that I want to do. We're going to be donating to an organization here in the Sacramento area called Weave. Great organization. Check it out. Make a donation. I'll be sharing something around social media. But I'm getting that reward. There's some very specific things around comic books that I know are coming, some specific discs that I want to buy that I wouldn't, I feel like I'm wasting my money. It's not that much money, but that's my reward. That's my mindset. I'm also, my reward, I'm going to really prioritize yoga and self-care. I've gotten away from it since COVID. I've got to turn the channel. I ruptured my brachial plexus. I started in yoga again and realized how far and bad my body is right now. I am really, really struggling. I'm going to meet myself where I am. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to love myself every step of the way. And I'm going to do something that moves me towards that goal, because something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. So use those holidays as a test. Be proactive and be very mindful of the systems that you need to put in place to manage the inherent risks of the holidays. Now, I'm going to answer a question. Thank you so much for submitting it, for Will, who asks, any advice for divorced dads who will not be with their kids during the holidays? That is the time when I feel most alone and most vulnerable. And as a result, Will, of that feeling of most alone and feeling of most vulnerable, the depth of that pain is commensurate, is opposite to the depth of the opportunity that you have to reclaim that time, to reclaim this holiday, to take it back. Not in a selfish, mean, F them and F everybody. And I'm not talking about that at all. I'm saying that you are going to address that loneliness. You are going to explore that vulnerability. And if you know anything about the internal family system, or have ever done any voice dialogue work, you're going to connect with those parts and you're going to learn what you need to do. How do I not that you thought suppressed, not that you force those thoughts down, but what actions can I take that will have me, same advice when I started this video, coming out of the holiday season where I feel good about myself? What do I need to do? How do I take this holiday back? I know I've screwed up. I know I've made a mess. I know maybe you feel responsible for where you're at, and maybe you are responsible for where you're at right now. And you're on this healing journey. And part of this healing journey is loving yourself at every step of the way, unconditionally, especially when you feel like shit. And just a story, you guys have heard this so many times before, is last Christmas, This is when I ruptured my brachial plexus. This is when I experienced the worst adult injury of my adult injury plagued life. I've had back surgery already. I've had jaw surgery. I've been on deck for hip surgery, neck surgery, shoulder surgery. That's there's a long-term identification with pain. And so I said to myself, damn it, Craig, this is what you practice. This is what you preach. You know how frustrating some guys is, and you're like at their low point and you say, hey, where's the opportunity? We find the gift, not sometimes, not every once in a while, every time we find the gift. We find the gift. We've changed our relationship with failure. So use this time, Will. Be proactive in feeling those feelings, being present with those feelings, and taking steps to proactively to allow to coexist with those feelings. You taking this holiday back. Taking this holiday back. It is yours. Because if you're on this healing journey, you're worthy of love. If you're not worthy, you don't believe you're worthy of love, then you keep doing your work. You keep digging. You keep learning. You keep reading. So that is my answer to Will. Great question. Great question. In the chat, Rob talks about one of his goals is to proactively meet my inner critic rather than letting him make me mindlessly react. Remember, the inner critic evolves from the inner critic to quality control, because you're never going to get rid of that part. And I know you know that. I'm just reinforcing it for the other people out here. That inner critic doesn't go away. That you piece of shit, you failure, look at everything that you did was wrong. No, that part is screaming in my ear right now. I'm being more animated than I normally am. I'm waving my hands. I'm probably rocking back and forth from the microphone. I'm using ums. I was disorganized in the 3 ways I wanted to present the information. I've gone off on a tangent. And if you didn't notice, I lost track of where I was. If you picked up on that, good for you. So that critic doesn't go away. Repurposing, just like I asked Will to repurpose, reclaim, take this holiday back, repurposing, changing, evolving your relationship with your parts and turning the critic into quality control. Hey, critic, you got a new job. I want you to continue to point out every flaw, every shortcoming, every opportunity that I have in my life to do better. Now, we're going to do it a little differently, though. You're not in charge. I am. None of the beating me up. None of the piece of shit. None of the worthless. No more of that. That doesn't work. That makes things worse. So we're going to change. So I need you, though. I need you, critic. That's how I see problems. That's how I'm able to fix them. I love you, critic. Right now, reach out, give your critic a hug. You need that critic. You need that voice in your head. No one wants to be complacent, but you have to reclaim that part. You have to reclaim that part. And in changing your relationship with that part, Rob talks about changing your relationship with failure. Changing your relationship with failure. I share with you a quick story. I have a client who said to me recently, and so you're telling me that I failed, I slipped, and whenever a client says they slipped, I say congratulations. You're talking about congratulations. Now you told me. Now we can do something. Now we can analyze it, and that shame that's like you got right now, we got to get rid of that. You don't have to feel that way. But how am I going to know it's a bad thing? You will. In fact, you will. And what people learn, because there's such a drive, such a desire to crap all over yourself, to beat yourself up. That's your compliance mechanism. And that's what's broken. That isn't driving better results. That's not creating better outcomes. That is making you feel worse. That is making you feel worse. It's not increasing the chance that you don't slip again. That self-flagellation, that worthless, that self-abuse. If you talk to yourself, if you talk to a child the way you talk to yourself, DCF, hello, that's abusive. That's terrible. This is what I cannot believe he's so mean. So fall down, get back up. So I'm not supposed to beat my. I'll never. I love the conversation. I have it often. A beautiful man, pious man, God-fearing man, leader, and to watch this because a lifetime of beating himself up, and so I fall down. Let me get this straight, and I get back up. I don't beat myself up. I don't make myself feel shame. Like that doesn't feel right. I don't negatively self-talk. And it just and to see the math that he was doing in his head, and I see it so often, that's changing your relationship with failure. Like Kobe Bryant said, I love one of his quotes is, I love failure. It teaches me. That's how we learn. The road to success is paved with the bricks of failure. Pick your failure quote. Go on to good quotes. Pick your failure quote. Beating yourself up, crapping all over yourself, shitting all over yourself, self-flagellation, negative self-talk when you fail is part of the problem that we are trying to solve, that you are trying to solve. So I am glad, Rob, that you are focusing and changing your relationship with failure, and you're going to hear my words. You're going to stumble, or maybe you almost make a mistake, and then that voice comes, and you're going to, like, I hope you hear these words. Wait, get back up. That's really okay. Take action to not make it worse, to infect myself with good feelings, pride, a recognition that I'm putting the brakes on and doing what I want to do, and learning and talking about it and sharing it. That's a win. It's always a win. Failure is a gift. Failure is a gift, and start seeing it that way, and challenge your relationship with it. That because I know this is a very difficult pill to swallow. This is a very difficult pill to swallow. And I'm beating a dead horse and talking about it again, but I just remember the words. So I fall down and I get back up, and that increases positive outcomes. Or I fall down, beat myself up senseless, drive compliant for rigorous compliant for a short period of time, rooted in shame, and then weeks later, months later, years later, ultimately unable to dam the flow of self-deprecation, and I numb, cope, and escape from that. That's not the better way. Are you sure? I'm not supposed to beat myself up? Anyway, a little drama. Those aren't the exact quotes. I absolutely embellished that story for purposes of effect, but it is a truth that I experience all the time in helping men and women, everyone, changing their relationship with failure. There's such deeply entrenched belief systems around failure. There is an origin story to failure. There's meaning a family of origin component to failure. You learned and were trained how to respond to failure. And for some of us, that training sucked. That training absolutely sucked. So thank you so much for joining me. Check me out, sign up, click subscribe, do what you need to do for YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Twitter. That way you get notifications regarding this broadcast, and that way you can ask questions. Thank you so much for Rob, to Will and Jewel for asking questions. So glad you're here and look forward to keep answering them. Great perspective, great conversations. Be proactive in making this holiday the best one ever, no matter where you are, no matter how low you are. The phoenix rises from the ashes. Let this be your